Title of the project: Capacity Buildings Project. Note: this program is financed by the Capacity Buildings Project with the support of the Global Environment Facility. The general objective of the project is to build the national capacities in terms of information management and environmental knowledge for the implementation, the monitoring, and the drafting of reports on multilateral environmental agreements in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals in Benin. Wilfried Bongazi, Climate Change Focal Point, and Médard OUINAKONHAN, Director of Climate Change Management, are invited by the national television to shed light on the topic climate change, adaptation and mitigation actions in Benin. The first question of the debate allows the guest to clarify what is meant by climate change, the term being used a lot but not really understood. For Médard OUINAKONHAN, there are many definitions, but the most used is that of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. These are changes which are attributed directly or indirectly to human activity and which alter the composition of the global atmosphere and which add to the variability of the natural climate observed over comparable periods. Wilfried Bongazi BIAOU adds that it is important to take into account human action in time. On the response to the phenomenon, Médard OUINAKONHAN argues that the international community has not stood idly by. During the 1980s, this notion appeared on the political agenda of decision makers who wanted to know more. Established in 1988, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change (IPCC) published its first report in 1990, which confirmed the threat climate change represents to development. On May 9, 1992, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change was adopted and opened for signature by states on June 4, 1992, at the Earth Summit in Rio. On June 13, 1992, Benin signed and ratified it on June 30, 1994. This convention entered into force on March 21, 1994. Since that date, meetings organized to show the effects of climate change, but many people are still. Since that date, meetings are organized to show the effects of climate change, but many people are still not conscious of that, and it is not yet accepted by all. 3 years after the adoption of the convention, the objectives were not met, which led to the adoption of the Kyoto Protocol in 1997 to encourage developed countries and countries in transition to reduce their greenhouse gases to the level of 5%. The actions taken subsequently did not succeed, and in 2011, at the 17th Conference of the Parties, the Durban Platform was launched for enhanced action on the climate, leading to a legal agreement or a test having legal value to submit in 2015 at COP21 in Paris. Wilfried Bongazi BIAOU explains that the objective of the convention was to stabilize the concentration of greenhouse gases at the level that would prevent any disruption of the climate system and allow ecosystems to naturally adapt, and socio-economic development could be done in a sustainable way. But the developed countries did not agree to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Médard OUINAKONHAN does not think this is bad faith, from these countries, but rather development. Asking for reduction is asking countries to close industries that provide them with resources, which is not obvious. They will do it, which is not obvious, they will do it right now. To believe it, we can only negotiate so that everyone contributes to it. Regarding what Benin being part of the convention is doing for its implementation, the Director of Climate Change Management explains that apart from the signed agreement, decisions are taken at each conference of the parties. These decisions have implications in terms of application and implementation, and every state tries to benefit from them. In terms of implementation, the first action is the preparation of national communications at the United Nations Framework Conventions on Climate Change. Benin is in its third edition, published in 2019, after the second in 2011, and the very first in 2021. The document reports Benin's greenhouse gas emissions by quantity, by sector, so on and so on, as well as by the state of vulnerability of Benin, regarding the resilience of the populations of Benin to climate change. Médard OUINAKONHAN highlights the development of strategic planning document, the first document that the international community has agreed to consider is the National Climate Change Adaptation Program of Action, NAPA, that all developing countries have been asked to elaborate. Benin did so in 2008. This document stated the immediate and urgent actions to be implemented. In total, Benin had 5 priority actions in Benin. The first in the field of agriculture and food security, the second in that of water resources, the third in the biomass energy sector, the fourth in health in terms of the fight against malaria for under 5 years old children and pregnant women, and the fifth in the coastal area. Unfortunately, the funding did not follow, and today, Benin is in the contest for the development of a national climate change adaptation plan, which will be available this year. Regarding mitigation, the climate change focal point explains that Benin has developed its low-carbon development strategy, also called low-carbon and climate-resilient development strategy. The document lists all the activities that significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This is one of the recommendations of the Paris Agreement that Benin had implemented before COP21. At the COP16 in Cancun in 2010, in fact, developing countries were invited to develop a strategy. Benin, being proactive, did so till 2025. The document will be updated in 2024 to comply with the Paris Agreement. To comply with the Paris Agreement, which set the development of the document for 2050. According to Wilfried Bongazi, a lot of actions are in the pipeline. These include the implementation of nationally determined contributions. Benin has joined the NDC partnership, an umbrella of political partners which today enables the country to honor its commitment under the Paris Agreement. One of the flagship actions is the ongoing finalization of a partnership plan listing all the actions that need to be funded. Another strong action is the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the Minister of Environment and Stockholm Environment Institute based in the United States. Thanks to this agreement, Beninese will be trained to use estimation software for climate scenarios.